Hello and welcome back. It is now April 14th, a little bit of a frosty morning out here. Got pretty cool last night, just down to around 0. Overall not too bad though. We did have a little bit of wild weather on the weekend, but everything is pretty much melted off now. Just a little bit of snow here and there remaining in the ditches, but we did get some valuable moisture that we're going to need for seeding time. Well, right now with the cool nighttime temperatures, we're actually quite solid on the top. We're not really muddy at all, but I think we will be here shortly now that the sun is out. You know, none of the weather on the weekend seemed to affect any of the stinkweed or the kochia or the flicksweed or anything at all. And I don't think there was any crop that was emerged. And really, we didn't even get all that cold, only really about -3, -4. So everything should be perfectly fine. Once we get up towards Carmangay, there's still quite a bit of snow in some of these fields. This is canola stubble, which is a little bit warmer, and it tends to have a little bit less snow in it. Some of the barley fields, like the one across the road over there, are still pretty full of snow. This, we at least have some bare patches, but I think there's enough moisture here. Nobody's going to be doing much up here for the next at least day or two, depending on what the weather does. On a lot of canola stubble, I am seeing a lot more volunteer canola this week. There's lots of this stuff up, and of course the volunteer never seems to suffer from any sort of frost damage or anything at all, so it's all perfectly healthy and fine, even though it's, you know, literally sitting almost in frozen ground at the moment. Well, it's Tuesday now. We had beautiful weather overnight, and we barely got below 10 degrees. Some fields, though, like this one, are still fairly wet. This is over closer towards Picture Butte, and topsoil here is still very wet, so I think a lot in this area we're not going to be seeding. But you can see these peas that were seeded here late last week, we are starting to sprout now, so these guys are looking pretty good. They'll be out of the ground probably in just a few more days. Well, here in this nice warm and worked corn stubble, we have another weed emerging. At first glance, it almost looks a lot like kochia, these small little cotyledons, but they're long and skinny, and that is what separates them from kochia. This is lamb's quarters. So typically this is also one of our first cold season weeds. It's early to emerge, early to develop, and can grow quite fast. So keep your eyes open for this one. It's another weed that's very small, hard to see until you really get out and start looking. Actually, here's a really good spot where you can see both kochia and lamb's quarter side by side. You can see the kochia has smaller leaves and is more fluffy in appearance. Lamb's quarters has more of a mealy appearance to the leaves, purple undersides on those cotyledons, and just kind of a longer, thinner appearance overall. Well, there's been a few more reports of cutworms appearing in winter wheat. I'm out in the Picture Butte area taking a look at a few fields today. I'm not seeing anything so far, but while it's still morning and the wind isn't too bad, I'm going to fly the drone a little bit and take a look from the air. And when the wind picks up too much later on, I'll just have to do her on foot. Well, Tuesday afternoon and the weather is beautiful and we're out here seeding again. I'd say field conditions in this field, the moisture is just barely dry enough to get going. This is down by Colehurst here. And you can see we're seeding barley in here. Right here, this spot, our depth is pretty good. We're about 1.25 inches. Some spots were 1.75 inches. We got some quite soft ground because of the moisture, so depths are a little bit all over the place. We did have to adjust because a few spots we were just a little bit over 3 inches. Now, barley is a pretty tough plant, and it will emerge from 3 inches, even 4 inches. Pretty well, but it will come up pretty stressed and yellow and look pretty rough, so I don't generally recommend seeding that deep unless we're in severe drought conditions, and that's how deep you have to go to find moisture. But right now we certainly do not have to go farther than 1 inch to 1.5 inches to find moisture. This field of winter wheat here, I have found a couple spots here where we have a little bit of a thin stand. It's not terrible, but it's enough that it was visible by the drone, so I've made my way out into the field to take a look. For the most part, they're all in kind of a west exposure, and sure enough, I start digging around, and in a matter of seconds I found a cutworm. And of course now, there he is right there. So we do have some cutworms in here, so we're gonna have to keep an eye on these patches. Right now, this is just kind of a strip along the west edge of this field, along a coulee, so it should be relatively easy to get under control. You know, just a single pass with something like Pounce should be able to get these guys under control. Well, down here to the south of Lethbridge today, things are looking pretty nice. Still a nice cool morning. Some very wet soil conditions, with the surface starting to dry out here now. This field was one of my first seeded with peas. You can see we're getting some pretty good sprouts here now, and things are looking pretty good. This field is usually the first place I find wild oats in the spring. And right here in that side of that seed row is one that has just barely broken the surface. So now we have applied Authority Supreme on this field. So we will be getting some protection from the focus component in the Authority Supreme. but even that is not perfect. 80% control on wild oats would be considered, a really good suppression at that level with that product. So, even if you have 10,000 oats in an acre, you're still going to see 2,000 oats or more, so you'll still see some. Well, the farther I get back into the hills to the south, the snowier and wetter it gets. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot going on down here for a while. I think it'll be next week before lots of these fields are back in seeding condition. This recently seeded field of wheat, it is wet and cold enough in here. There's actually frost in the ground in a bunch of spots here. So this has been seeded for 6 days, and some of the wheat is just starting to germinate. Of course, I'm digging in a spot where now I don't find any. Oh, there it was. Using a different garden tool here today. Yeah, so there we go. That one wasn't germinated yet. This one's got just a little tail starting to come out here. So still very little going on. As you can see, we do have a bunch of volunteer canola in here. It's actually coming right through a frost layer, so it'll be interesting to see whether it survives or not. I guess we will see. Field I'm checking out this morning is a really cool view of the Old Man River Valley. This is kind of a little feeder coulee that feeds it from the north side. Pretty cool. Some really nice badlands on the other side I'd love to go and explore. Well, it's a cool but sunny Friday morning. Things are looking good. I'm told it is a holiday today, so I have to drag this guy around with me today, and he's helping me with weed identification. Eric, you finding any weeds over there yet? All right, well, apparently this farmer's doing a good job. If the boy can't find weeds, must not be any weeds. Stumbled upon one of my customers' shooting ranges inadvertently out in the field while taking a look at weeds, and I gotta say this is the best one I have seen so far this year. So big shout out of appreciation to a job well done here. You can see not only is this a full-size IPSC style 3/8 AR500 target, but seems like the stand is almost completely made out of grater blades and probably weighs about 400 pounds. So this is an awesome long-range target. Well, this field definitely has some grassy weeds. Most of it is volunteer, but there is some brome grass and quack grass kind of mixed in as well. So I've had a lot of questions today. This is Friday, about whether it's good to go spraying, and it's not great. We're 12 degrees right now. I think forecast high is for 15 later this afternoon. So weeds are going to be actively metabolizing and will take up herbicide. So we should be able to get some kill on them. However, with freezing temperatures at night, those weeds are going to shut down, and it's really going to decrease the effectiveness and kind of the speed of kill of a lot of these weeds. But I think today, looking at the forecast, today's the last day with any sort of acceptable weather. I think, tomorrow, once we get into highs in the single digits for the next few days, it's not really worth it to be spraying unless you absolutely have to. Well, that'll be it for today. Sounds like we're supposed to get some cool, wet weather in the next few days, but hopefully we can get as many acres as we can done today and maybe tomorrow while the weather is still decent. So with that, have a happy Easter weekend, and we'll see you next week.